understand this issue, it's more of her issue is more of one of notification. Now, at the time that she, as I understand this, went through what she went through, the board did not have, up on its website, it did not have a link to every single probationer that was a licensed probationer in California. You could call the dental board's office and ask about a dentist, and the dental board would go into the records and advise the individual on the phone. Since that time, since her incident, the board has posted every and all disciplinary actions on the board's website. So if anybody, any consumer wanted to go see the status of a particular dentist before they went to that dentist, they can go to the board's website. Now that still falls short of what she is requesting. She is requesting that a dentist on probation, physically hand a sheet out. And I can't speak to that. But I can tell you today, as we do business, and we didn't start this until 2009, we have loaded every disciplinary action onto the board's website. Anybody that wants to go on can pull up the actual disciplinary action that transpired. That's what we have today.
Okay, but if a dentist were on probation,
yes, sir,
for some infraction, he or she's still able to practice until
it depends.
Adjudicated, correct?
In some cases, if an accusation is filed, yes, that is, an individual is able to practice until a disciplinary action is taken. If the disciplinary action is taken, if they are negligent in Crown and Bridge, the board historically or typically this board will mandate remedial education and put restriction on that Crown and Bridge until remedial education is demonstrated. That's how this board operates.
Have you had a chance to speak to this consumer yet?
I know of her case. Her case has been with the board for some time, and I do have my enforcement chief here to speak specifically more to that case if you want. I was just speaking to how we do business today versus how business was done then. But
let me ask you, if that information had been on the website, would it have helped you at the time?
At the time, if I would have known my dentist was a probationer dentist, I would have invested in a dentist who didn't have to be disciplined to perform irreversible procedures. It would have helped me. I would have avoided 4 surgeries.
She has no teeth today.
Okay. Well, again, we certainly are sorry for the situation you're in, but hopefully it will help educate and inform others, including this committee, so that we can take the kind of appropriate action that will prevent that kind of thing from occurring again in the future.
I'm seeking the author for Tina's bill proposal, and I'll keep working on this.
Well, let's have some more discussion with the committee staff. Alternatives, I think there may be a way.
I appreciate that.
And
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I came along with Tina with comment. I did 3 public comments at the dental board, and each time I made my comment, they changed their laws after I left to more protect the dental board's actions and dentists and not the public. And on behalf of Mr. DeCur, I know he can count to 8. And I know that his math is that good when it comes down to board members and that are made of dentists and that are made of the public. And I know the past dental board president had a gag order, $95,000 she paid when she pulled 2 teeth, and then she got removed and was replaced by Dr. Bettinger. But that's just my statement also. With diversion programs, I believe in a 0-strike policy, period, in the healthcare business.
All right.
My comment is as follows, though. Please forgive me. And good afternoon to all the honorable members of this committee. My name is Ken Phillips. I was born in Santa Monica, California, and I'm a small business owner. For the past 9 years, I have assisted branches of the U.S. military, soldiers, and airmen with recruitment supplies. 6 years ago, I met Tina Gomes in dire need of help due to the very inhumane and unprofessional licensing practices of the Dental Board of California. There's substantially related gross immorality in the practices of the Dental Board that I've witnessed as it values profits over patient safety. My hope is that our testimony here today, the current Dental Board of California will sunset. The executive officer and people that contributed at the Attorney General's office to this grossly negligent pattern will be reprimanded at minimum. Tina was abused by the DBC that conspired with her dentist and destroyed her records. The dental board ignored her current dentist's letter to the DBC and DCA, which I have today, to substantiate that her former dentist practiced below the standard of care, and he did not understand the mechanics of the work that he was doing. Her current dentist is a former professor of dentistry at USC. When Tina filed her formal complaint, Supervising Investigative Officer Terry Lane, which Mr. DeCur is speaking of, stated that Tina's former dentist was not negligent. And this is the same then interim chief of enforcement, Terry Lane, that also accused her former dentist of repeating grossly negligent conduct to several other patients and fraudulently billing the state, which put him on probation. I'm confused during all this investigating and monitoring for fees over the last 10 years. How did anyone miss 3 full reconstructive surgeries and the fact that Tina was becoming toothless? Tina went in originally only to cement 1 crown with her dentist, and her former dentist overprescribed, convinced her to invest in more work than she needed. She did not agree to be treated by a probationer dentist, and furthermore, the Dental Board of California purposely avoided telling her that he was on probation for harming several others. When I met Tina back in 2005 in her condition, I refinanced my house to pay for her 4th surgery that was necessary and failed to restore any damages and losses. I was in her former dentist's office when he permanently cemented a below standard and unheard of 7-tooth bridge over a raging infection and fractured teeth. She was then abandoned because she did not have another $19,000 to give him. He told her to go to the county hospital to repair his failed experimental and shoddy dental work. We, the people and our elected officials, cannot afford to waste any more time or money investigating the current dental board and other parties involved. The failure to act will only create more victims like Tina. Repeat offenders or disguised probationer dentists allowed to continue convincing unsuspecting consumers to invest in unnecessary dental services. The Attorney General revokes the dental's license for repeating harm to others, acting non-compliant, and for repeated gross negligent acts. The priority of the Dental Board is to license only compliant and competent dentists. Tina's former dentist has hurt more people since then. He still practices blemish-free today. Most probationer dentists can no longer obtain insurance for their non-compliant conduct because insurance companies do not want to expose their policyholders to a network of probationer dentists. Support the merits of Tina's bill proposal to inform dental consumers in California. The DBC and Attorney General collective investigative and prosecutorial fees, but it does not prevent harm from repeating. There is currently hundreds of probationer dentists practicing disguised in my state. Thousands of complaints by victims are made annually. The current dental board is too understaffed to effectively assist the public, and in my opinion, operates inhumanely outside of healthcare by leaving behind an onslaught of toothless victims without recourse for proper restitution for the repeated harm the board causes. Contrary to the DBC mission statement and Senate BMP Code 1601.2 provides protection of the public shall be the highest priority for the Dental Board of California in exercising its licensing, regulatory, and disciplinary functions. Whenever the protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. California will benefit greatly by establishing a neutral agency with no dentist or government employees that function solely to protect the consumer's interest. All complaints should be processed immediately by this agency, and the probationer dentist must not be allowed to practice while under probation and on suspension. I have discovered and uncovered a very broken and risky process in reforming probation dentists with the use of continued education. Most dentists that are negligent and caught breaking the law are pulled clear of normal due process and of any lawful conviction and allowed to continue to practice with a revocation stay. The money will begin spinning and fees start being collected and shared by the DBC and Attorney General's office without notifying the public and unsuspecting consumers of dental services. This proves to me that the powers that be are breaking the laws and certainly putting profits way before public protection, safety, and prevention. The unlawful dentist is allowed to practice for profits and or fees as if nothing illegal or unethical has happened. Our family members, 30 million Californians, are thrown into harm's way without recourse for proper restitution, believing that the license on the dentist's wall at the place of treatment means that he's exemplary. All Californians would rather have their God-given teeth than to be convinced by repeat offenders to trade them for an inadequate refund or for dental devices.
Let me ask you just to summarize, to wrap up.
We're just about done. This is not a pillow manufacturing board or fruits and nuts farming board. The DBC is a sensitive to humans public protection agency that oversees the professional licensing where blood, soft tissue, bone, and enamel are at the end of a drill. Irreversible procedures like many Tina was convinced to endure remove any hope of restorative dentistry today or any time in the near future and at any cost. Science today is not advanced enough in dentistry to restore the kind of damages that are being caused. First, do no harm. Prevention is the only course of action for the DBC. We need an author to sponsor Tina's bill proposal now to protect children and families in California. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and your comments. We certainly regret the your unfortunate experience with a California dentist.
It's the board. It's not the dentist.
They
load his gun.
We regret the situation that occurred, and we're very happy to consider your proposed legislation. Please keep us informed as to the status of this case as it winds through the process. We'll be watching it very carefully.
They've eliminated her right. What's it called? Impeded her right to a fair trial.
Okay, well,
so they're really
well. We've not impeded your right to speak here this evening,
and for that, our troops fight dearly for my freedom to speak, and I thank you very kindly.
I appreciate your comments.
Thank you very much.
Sir, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. My name is Frank Cooney. I'm the Executive Director of California Citizens for Health Freedom. It's a nonprofit consumer advocacy organization. And we have not followed the dental board very closely. I've followed the medical board more closely. I've been in almost every board meeting for 15 years and have watched the medical board go through the process of, one, change the membership of the board, increase the members of the consumers on the board, as was recommended by Julie D'Angelo when she went through the process of evaluating the board. One, got rid of the cost recovery process, increased the board fee, but got rid of the cost recovery. And this is what she was referring to here, was the cost recovery process of they have into it. And that process, I think, the medical board, I think, has improved through the changes that Julie D'Angelo had recommended they go through, which was a fairly long, extensive process onto that, even though originally it seemed to be difficult. And they said, they said here that there's so much difference in the dental, the specialty. Well, gee, that means the medical board has less differences? The medical board has such a wide variety of things that they cover, yet they're able to work with a board with more consumer protection existing on the board they have in that. So I do recommend the recommendation that you have the board composure be changed with more consumers on it be done. I would recommend that you consider the issue of cost recovery. Increase the fees for the dental board to operate, but get rid of the cost recovery that gets involved in how much money has to go out into this whole process. Would suggest there is something really wrong here. The statements being made by the director saying that nobody's been harmed. When Tina contacted me, about 2 years ago, Tina? 3 years ago? My age, I kind of forget time frame. I asked her to gather information about, is there other people like her, other consumers that have been harmed by the board, and she has obtained over 100 of those individuals, 200
all right, well,
of those individuals, including a death in the dental office.
Just recently.
Okay, well, again, that information should be turned over to the board. I think shouldn't be pushed over to the board.
Well,
and,
the board,
or you may pursue some other legal.
Well, they may.
action.
I would recommend they consume it, but the fact is, the board should have been aware. The board should have been aware of that. If the board is not aware that there are 200 consumers being hurt, including a death in the dental office, and they continue issuing the license for the dentist, that's wrong. I agree very strongly that in issue 22, notice to the consumer, that the practitioner's status is a license of the state, that the consumer should know it. Well, unfortunately, when she began looking at this, a lot of the consumers that were hurt were minority people, some low income. Now, those individuals generally will not go to the computer or don't have a computer and be able to access the information that they need to have for their own protection and interest. And I think it's very important that the proposal that when an individual is on probation, the consumer should be aware of that and where they can obtain more information if necessary. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the officers, members, staff of the board. Appreciate your participation this afternoon. You've given us some good information. And
there's no victim fund. The act with a high risk, there's no victim fund for the victims being created. So when they impede their right to a fair trial, they don't have to carry insurance, and dentists don't carry insurance in the state of California. I don't know if you're aware of that.
okay.
They don't have to carry
I'll be
that.
happy to chat with you about that after the hearing.
There you go.
Can I get your card?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, any other comments?
These, at some point, I think it might be interesting for us as a committee just alone to talk about this issue. It's a really difficult one, and as someone who has seen a close friend treated poorly by not a dentist but a physician, and later to find out that this guy, I think, was on not the diversification, the diversion program, and to find out what had happened, and the lawsuit that had been filed against him, and et cetera, et cetera. It is alarming. This person did not suffer to the same degree as the witness, but it's a real issue, and something we ought to think about.
Well, again, the protection of the public is certainly the foremost purpose of the board, and so we appreciate your comments and suggestions in improving it and making it even better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last but certainly not least, the Athletic Commission. How you doing? Long day.
I think it's been a longer day for you, sir.
Let me invite the commission members and staff to join us at the table. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, I don't know who's on first. Dr. Giza?
I'll take it from here, and then I'll pass it to Dr. Giza, Senator.
All right, fine.
All right. Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. My name is George Dodd, and I am the Executive Officer of the California State Athletic Commission. It's a pleasure to appear before the committee on behalf of the Athletic Commission. I would also like to introduce to you some of our commission members here today: Athletic Commission Vice Chair Dr. Christopher Giza, Commissioner Dr. Van Lemons, and Commissioner Eugene Hernandez. Senators and Assembly Committee members, the Athletic Commission has come a long way since our last sunset review back in 2006 and our last review back in 2010. The last year we have tackled administrative and regulatory matters rather aggressively. In fact, we have changed or proposed about 13 regulatory changes. Another 5 or 6 are being developed, and a third package that is getting ready to go out. We're striving to continue ensuring the health and safety of each fighter entering the ring or cage is protected, working with the promoters so they can be successful, and providing consumer protection for the spectators. In 2007, Senate Bill 247 reestablished the Commission to enforce and regulate, having some of the most aggressive health and safety laws in the nation, to ensure our athletes are safe with fair and balanced competition practices. The Senate bill did more than that. It put the Commission on notice concerning daily operational concerns, reevaluating how we can even be better in the field operations as well as in the office. Past audits continuously point out issues unique to this organization. Let me assure you the Commission has come a long way to improving this organization as outlined in the background letter provided to each member here today. As noted on page 4 of your background paper, I would like to highlight a few notable areas we have made tremendous headways. We have a strategic plan now in place, an organizational plan that addresses not only our previous audit issues, but goes further to ensure California remains on the forefront in the industry. Budget. We are running a lean, efficient operation without compromise health and safety of our athletes or the productivity of the office. We're operating within our budget restraints. Our athletic field inspectors are unique individuals who dedicate themselves to the sport with working extraordinary long hours, receiving ongoing training and evaluations to ensure their abilities are meeting commission standards. These 55 individuals have been commendable in performing, again, in a unique capacity and very demanding environments. Training. We have raised the bar on this effort in the last year by having frequent training certification courses, but also provide an opportunity for growth. We want our staff to move forward and be recognized by other states as the best in the world, and it's happening. We are being noticed. Our commissioners, dedicated and engaged in every way, from our meetings to participating in special projects, committees, research, to having the understanding for the different sporting environments we regulate. The Board Administrative Manual is in your packet, which illustrates some of the demands put on these members. In 2009, the World Boxing Council, an organization recognized as the gold standard in boxing industry, announced a prestigious honor to the California State Athletic Commission by naming us the Commission of the Year for its firm, committed administrative function to the sport and safety of the fighters, which many see as a sign or an indicator the Commission has come a long way, that we're moving in the right direction. The Commission knows we have a long road ahead, and I can only hope others who view us realize this as well. Changes cannot be done overnight, with the organization has been around since the 1920s, and with the industry that goes back even further. With the assistance from the Department of Consumer Affairs, we have no doubt that we will continually find ways to improve upon this unique organization. In August 2010, the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Commission started working on a new type of database system for our licensing system. In the past, we have had various software packages, but had issues with supporting in these custom-designed systems. As you may know, DCA has two systems, ATS and CAS. However, they are getting ready to switch to the new Breeze system coming in 2012-2013. So we're at a pivotal point which DCA's IT specialists have designed a system that is being used today. This system is web-based, able to create reports, and more importantly, this will be able to be merged into the new Breeze system that will meet the requirements that the Athletic Commission needs. Nevertheless, the Commission does have a system in place today that meets the security requirements of DCA's cashiering unit demands, state administrative manual requirements, and it will be even better in the future. The Boxer Pension Fund and the Delegation of Amateur Combative Sports in California, two areas the Commission is continually improving upon. Regarding the Boxer Pension Fund, about a year ago, we hired an individual with the main focus to determine eligibility, tracking down those who qualify. Recently, an important element to this is having a strong outreach effort through working with the industry promoters, publications, brochures, to even explaining and providing documentation about the program during the registration and renewal of the licensing process. In the last year, we have increased the amount participating in the program, and we are reviewing changes in the vesting requirements so more can qualify, and possibly looking into some type of medical coverage. All this keeping in mind the fund is strong. In regards to delegating amateur combative sports, the Commission has a clear understanding about these delegations, but we must continuously work side by side with these key members with whom the Commission has delegated their authority to ensure the health and safety of these amateur fighters. Again, because we are an organization making improvements and want to continue being the best, I feel it's an honor to have the opportunity to talk with you today. The Commission plays a unique and vital role to ensure the health and safety of the fighters here in California. After Dr. Gisa speaks, all of us welcome your questions so we can provide you direct answers to any concerns or issues you feel needing more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for sticking it out to the bitter end. I'm Chris Giza, and I'm a pediatric neurologist and a neuroscientist at UCLA who studies traumatic brain injury. And I'm also vice chair of the commission. Chairman Frierson sends his regards and regrets he wasn't able to attend the hearing today. I'm just going to address specifically some of the issues regarding health and safety and the Neurological Fund, and then turn it over to Dr. Lemon for some numbers. The State Athletic Commission is pleased to have this opportunity to update you with our progress, and in particular in the areas of health and safety over the past year. And I think you can see one major step forward for us has been the completion of that strategic plan which you have before you. In this plan, the primary stated goal is actually the health and safety of the athletes. And in 2010, under Mr. Dodd, our new executive officer, we've been able to conduct several successful training events, events which have been missing for some time, and this includes training for referees, judges, inspectors, and physicians. We've also continued to monitor the health and safety of our licensees through a network of experienced physicians who provide the licensing examinations, who do the pre-fight physicals, and also, most importantly, take care of the fighters at ringside and during and after the fights. The Athletic Commission has developed a reputation for strict review of any violations, particularly those related to health and safety and the fairness of the combative sports, including doping and use of improper equipment, and we've had several high-profile cases in the last year. Our current medical standards are among the highest in any combatant sports regulatory body, and they include separate neurological, physical examinations, ophthalmological examinations, and brain imaging studies. In the last year, the Commission gained its second physician, Dr. Van Lemons, a neurosurgeon and expert in combatant sports medicine, who will speak with you briefly. The Medical Advisory Committee for Health and Safety is being reconstituted, and Dr. Lemons and I are actually reviewing over 400 applicants for 6 spots. We have some very qualified individuals who will ultimately be seated on the advisory committee. And the purpose of this committee will be to review and update the safety regulations for the combatant sports and advance the medical training curriculum for the ringside physicians. However, our vision for this group is broader, and we look ahead towards further enhancements in the medical and neurological screening examination, developing a standard data collection set so that we can improve our care, and even facilitating observational research relevant to the combatant sports. In addition to these general health and safety plans, we've also prioritized the development of the neurological program as a major goal, and that's also listed in the strategic plan. And this is particularly timely given the recent increase in public awareness about the risks and concerns of repeated head trauma in sports. The Neurological Fund is currently in good health, and the current Commission has already begun plans to utilize this unique resource in ways that will take neurological care in combatant sports to the next level. This is something that we have in California that does not exist really in any other setting. And some of the areas we're considering are a critical review of advanced neurological testing, development of a comprehensive medical database, and also quality control data analyses and collaborations even with academia to further specific research projects relevant to the combatant sports. And examples of some of these things might be hydration status and fight outcomes, the risk for catastrophic injuries in the ring, and the role of standardized neurocognitive testing in determining return to play status. I think if one carefully reviews the new strategic plan and our track record over the last 12 months with the new executive officer and essentially a new commission, it will be increasingly clear that CSAC is moving ahead in 2011. And this progress will not only include continuing its excellent record of health and safety, which is our primary goal, but also thinking forward to advance medical and neurological care through data-driven quality control and evidence-based research. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Lemons.
Hello, my name is Dan Lemons, and I'm going to be very brief. I just want to give you some statistics so you have this commission in proper perspective. Over the last year, our commission supervised 1,850 bouts, professional bouts, boxing, kickboxing, martial arts. That's not amateur. Those are professional. This volume of experience, this volume of sport in this state is far larger than any other state, not by a little, but by a lot. Over the last 5 years, we have supervised over 7,500 professional bouts. And in that period, there have only been 3 major injuries in this state. This safety record for these sports in this state is far superior to any other state in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Question about the pension fund. You've made some passing reference to it. I know it had some issues over the years in terms of the amount and who's eligible for it, and outreach to make sure that those were eligible receiving it.
Yes, Senator.
Talk a little bit more about the experiences, the recent experiences, and how that's back on track.
Well, what we did is, as outlined in my speech, Senator, is that we actually have somebody that's that's a retired annuitant that deals strictly with the trying to contact these fighters. The problem with the pension fund is not that we don't want to pay them. The problem is that it's a transient type population. They come and go. They're from other foreign countries. We try to educate them when they come, as far as when you come here, remember at the age of 50 you're entitled to this, but again, when they're first enrolled, it's when they're probably in their early 20s, and so 25 years later they kind of forget. So one of the outreaches that we're also working on is when we start doing the gym inspections, which will hopefully start taking place in July of this year, that'll be part of our outreach program when we do visit those gyms, to remind the fighters, talking to the promoters, anybody that we can get to listen, that there's these pension funds. And again, as Dr. Geese has said, with the neurologicals and the medical requirements, this is strictly for California. There's no other boxing commission in the United States that does this. Does it provide some type of funding when the fighter does reach the age of 50? So we're really out there trying to push this. That's been my goal since I've been here. Lately, we've been working with the media outlets to push this, as well as not in English, but also on the Spanish websites as well. Okay.
And let's shift for a minute over to amateur sports, which the Commission is also responsible for. In the past, you've delegated that authority to, I guess, a qualified nonprofit. Is that still the desired way to proceed? How do you make sure there's the right kind of accountability and the rules and regs are being followed to the extent possible?
We still, Senator, we feel that's still a case. With the Amateur Mixed Martial Arts, we delegate that authority to the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization. They come to our commission meetings regularly and provide updates of any statistics that the commission so chooses. They keep us up to date as far as their changes in any rules that may affect the health and safety of the fighters. Some of the issues that we've been dealing with is USA Boxing. There have been allegations we've addressed. I've been working with the Attorney General Office, Ms. Karen Chappell, who you heard from earlier. We've been working in tandem with the new executive director at USA Boxing. Again, there was a misconnect of where that delegation lies. And the reason I say that is because there's 4 boxing clubs here in California, and they're the biggest in the nation. And working with the headquarters at USA Boxing, we've had a clear understanding of what that requirement is, that the delegation of authority doesn't lie with the local boxing club, but it lies with the national office, USA Boxing. And at the next commission meeting on April 18th, we do have the executive director for USA Boxing come and making a presentation to the commission. One thing I would like to say is that USA Boxing is a unique organization, is that these are all volunteers that do a really good job. They have the health and safety of a fighter, their kids, in mind, and they do a fantastic job with what they do. So, thank you.
Good. Well, I'm going to say you've done a great job in sort of addressing many of the issues that have been raised over the past several years. This is a very impressive package of materials here, strategic plan, board member administration manual. It's something that some of the other boards might, in fact, take a look at. But it's an important function, and I'm glad to know that it's being brought more in line, and that there's certainly a lot more accountability and demonstration that the commission is certainly working not just for the interests of the fighters or for those athletes, but also the broader interests of the public, and so we do appreciate that. Let me invite the public to make any comments, or any organizations or individuals that wish to comment on the Athletic Commission. It's fine work. Well, you really are doing a fine job here. Either that or everyone is just tired and sleepy. But again, gentlemen, thank you very much for your service. Let me thank everyone for participating in this marathon informational hearings. We appreciate the Department of Consumer Affairs, the director who's been with us all day, making certain that things are on the right road. We've had representatives from the Attorney General's office. Ms. Chappelle's been here all day, and we just appreciate everyone's participation. Certainly want to thank staff for the, again, outstanding job in creating the documents that have been referred to and used, obviously, by not just the members on the committee, but the public as well. And so with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.